What's up everyone, and welcome back to another What If video. This time, we'll be continuing a what if that gained a lot more traction than I thought it would, which as you could tell by the title of this video, is what if Frieza killed Gohan instead of Krillin on Namek. I did also make an error in the last video that I like to address, when I mentioned that the wish was made for everyone who was killed by Frieza and his forces to be revived, but Gohan would have been revived by that, so I did end up retconning it and I made a part 1.5 which you can check out, but if you don't really care about that, then let's just continue with this video. Although this might not seem like a major change with Gohan being killed instead of Krillin, this does cause some interesting things to happen. For one, Frieza is actually dead. Goku got insanely enraged by this, and he didn't show any mercy to Frieza, and he ended up killing him instantly. Gohan ends up training with King Kai on his planet, and ends up learning Kaioken, along with the other humans, Tien, Yamcha, and Chaozu, who are on the planet with him. They all end up being revived, and of course, they're much stronger than before, with Gohan having tried to tap into Super Saiyan, but he couldn't quite get there yet while with King Kai. And of course, the last part ended with Trunks arriving, because in order to avoid any timeline confusion, I'm going to keep Trunks' timeline the same. As Dragon Ball Super showed us, time travel isn't really just going backwards in time in your own timeline, it's more like jumping to another one, but that's a whole other topic that I don't want to get into, and rather than messing with timelines, we're just going to keep Trunks' timeline the same and say he comes back to this timeline instead. However, he arrives only to find King Cold and no Frieza around, since Goku showed no mercy to Frieza this time. Also, Kami used an extra wish from the Namekian Dragon Balls in order to regain his youth, much like King Piccolo did before in Dragon Ball. Now with that quick little recap, we can continue with the arrival of the androids. Trunks' conversation with Goku goes similar to how it did in canon, with Piccolo hearing everything as it goes on. He informs Goku of his identity and who he is, as well as informing Goku about the androids, and he gave him the medicine for the heart virus like usual. Of course, with this news, like in the original, everyone begins training, and the 3-year gap of training begins until the androids arrive. Over this time period, the humans would try to master Kaioken and take it to higher levels. Yamcha and Tien are now able to do Kaioken times 5 with ease, and are able to even push it to times 10 for brief periods of time. Chaozu on the other hand, he's only able to do times 3, and he can barely push it to times 5, since he is still weaker than the others, but this is still a nice improvement for him. Of course, Krillin wasn't with King Kai, and he is feeling a little bit left behind. Super Saiyan, Kaioken, everyone's getting all these new transformations and techniques, and he's just kinda left behind with what he has already. While they can't teach it as well as King Kai, everyone of course wants everyone to be stronger, so of course, Tien and Yamcha would try to teach Krillin Kaioken, even if it wasn't as effective. I mean, even if he could power up a little bit, that's still good enough. Since they can't really teach it as well as King Kai, and since Krillin did get a bit of a late start, I feel he would be able to master Kaioken times 4, and he would try to push it a little farther, but he would need more practice. And of course, Yamcha does try to use the gravity room like in the original story, but this time he actually ends up succeeding. Albeit at a much lower level than Vegeta, and while using his Kaioken. As he starts using this room himself, the other humans would join him as well so they can all get exponentially stronger. On the other hand, we have Gohan, who has made a lot more progress. As I touched upon in the last part, being a half Saiyan, Gohan's Saiyan physiology would allow him to handle Kaioken much better, kinda like Goku does. Not to mention he does have a lot of latent power due to him being a hybrid. By training with his father at higher levels of power, he's able to crank it all the way up to times 10 and master that, and Goku himself is able to further use his Super Saiyan form with ease. And while Kaioken is good, Goku does want to teach Gohan Super Saiyan, since he did briefly touch upon it while he was on King Kai's planet, but he couldn't quite get there yet. With all these numbers, it might seem a little overwhelming, but to put it in simple terms, everyone is a lot stronger. Gohan of course trains with Goku, since he wants to access his Super Saiyan power as well, so Goku helps him reach this goal of course. He notices Gohan flare up one time while they're training, just for a very brief period of time into Super Saiyan, before dropping out of it due to exhaustion. He's almost on the verge of accessing Super Saiyan, but he's not quite there yet, so he does need a lot more practice, or some sort of catalyst at least to break him into doing that, kinda like Goku had on Namek. The 3 years have passed, and after all this time training, the androids have finally arrived. Everyone heads down to the location they were told by Trunks, and they head into the city and split up in order to find the androids. They're having kind of a hard time finding the androids since they look just like normal humans. Suddenly, Yamcha is grabbed by someone, Android 20. His power begins to get drained, but instead of being punched through the chest, Yamcha is actually able to free himself this time since he is powered up a little bit, and he tries to put up a fight but gets beaten down by 20. Everyone rushes to his location after noticing his ki took a sharp drop, and they find him trying to fight 20 with 19 close behind. Yamcha told everyone what happened and how they must have absorbed his ki somehow, since he had his hand on his face and then his power started going down by a lot. With this knowledge, Goku and everyone take the fight out of the city, and he challenges 19. This fight goes pretty similar to how it originally did. Goku's fighting 19, only to get out of breath, and he starts clenching his chest. They realize the heart virus has struck, and Goku falls to the ground, clenching his heart. Before Vegeta can even step in, Gohan is enraged by this, and he powers up to Kaioken times 10 and launches himself towards 19. But he still can't match him at this rate. Blinded by his anger, he's suddenly grabbed by 19, who wraps his arms around him, which only infuriates him more. Before 19 can even drain any energy, Gohan explodes in a flash of light, which rips 19's arms right off his body. From all this extra training and all his new strength, combined with the rage that he has now, Gohan is now a Super Saiyan, earlier in the original timeline. On the last part, a lot of people in the comments said that Gohan should access Super Saiyan earlier, and I feel like this is a good time for him to do it. Instead of doing it over the 3 years, this fight acts as a sort of catalyst for him to end up doing it, and he finally unlocks the power. With this new power, Gohan easily pummels 19 into the ground. Since 19 doesn't have arms anymore, this is a good opportunity for Gohan to kill him. He charges up a massive Masenko, and he kills him easily, as he falls to the ground out of breath, due to him being exhausted from Super Saiyan as well as using Kaioken before. Naturally, everyone is pretty shocked to see this. Gohan is actually a Super Saiyan now like Goku. And with this brief distraction, 20 uses this as an opportunity to escape. Before he can, however, he's stopped in his tracks. Vegeta, who is now also a Super Saiyan, is in front of 20, not allowing him to leave. Like 19 did in the original, Android 20 tried to absorb Vegeta's energy, only for Vegeta to rip both of his arms off as well. "I don't have time for your cheap tricks." Vegeta makes quick work of Android 20, and both of the androids are now dead. Trunks then arrives and finds out what happened. None of this is right. The 2 androids here aren't the same ones as the one in his time. Something is wrong. Like the original story, Bulma remarks that Android 20 must be Dr. Gero, since she did see him in some magazine before, and she knows the general location of his lab, so she does tell it to everyone. But without having Gero to chase after, it takes everyone a bit longer to find the lab, so they end up splitting up. After a long time searching, they end up finding the lab, but they find something very horrifying. They arrive in the lab to find 3 pods labeled 16, 17, and 18, and the ones labeled 17 and 18 look like they've been broken into and are completely empty. They hear footsteps out of the dark corners of the lab as a large green figure nears towards them. "Nice of you all to finally show up." It's Cell, and he's in his perfect form. Without Gero there to release the androids, and with everyone distracted, this was the perfect opportunity for Cell to achieve perfection. It was really like fish in a barrel. He just walked in the lab and absorbed them quickly. Everyone is confused as to who this guy is, and they ask as Cell fills them in on who he is and what he's done with the androids. "I could kill you all now, but that would be no fun. How about I give you all 10 days to trade?" Everyone of course is left speechless, but Cell takes this silence as a yes. As he leaves, he tells everyone that they should keep an eye on the news tonight. Everyone then receives a message from Kami, who asks for Piccolo, Gohan, Vegeta, and Trunks to come to the lookout, since he may have a way to help them train, and that he will contact the humans later with the same info. As he heads to the lookout, the humans decide to stay back at the lab and see what they could find on Cell. Maybe there's some blueprints anywhere or some way to exploit his weakness. They end up finding an embryo, and they realize that it's Cell, so they do end up destroying that quickly. However, Krillin remembers something interesting. There was a 3rd android pod in there labeled 16, and the android is still inside. Krillin wonders if Bulma could do anything about him, such as reprogramming him into being a good guy, so they might have an extra person fighting on their side if they can get this to work. He's dormant right now, so he won't do anything to them if they take him out of the lab, unless they open the pod. So Krillin carries the pod out, and the lab is blown up as everyone heads back to Capsule Corp. Back on the lookout, the other 4 arrive as Kami informs them of the hyperbolic time chamber. He thinks it's best for these 4 to train first, since they have the greatest potential, and since Goku is still fallen ill to the heart virus, Trunks and Vegeta head in first. Piccolo approaches Kami at this time, and he tells Kami that they need to merge. After seeing how powerful merging with Nail made him, he wants Kami to do the same. Remember, not only is Kami younger now, but he's a lot stronger than he was before. So the results of this Namekian fusion will be very different from the original, and very beneficial for Piccolo. Reluctantly, Kami ends up agreeing as he puts his hand on Piccolo's chest. The Namekian assimilation begins, and this is where we'll leave off for now. So what did you guys think about this part? What do you think will happen next? How powerful will this Namekian fusion be? Will Goku wake up soon enough to train with Gohan, or will Piccolo have to train with Gohan? How much more powerful will everyone get? How will the fight with Cell turn out? Let me know your thoughts and suggestions below, and I'll be sure to take them into account. Thank you for watching, and as always, be sure to like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can get notified whenever I make a new video, including the next parts of this What If. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next part.